So today we're going to be adding and subtracting radicals, and it's kind of like adding and subtracting variables. It's very similar, but we just have a few extra steps to get there. So the first thing we're going to do, though, is simplify some radicals just to do a nice little warm-up. 244 is not a perfect square, so you have to go through the whole process, of simplifying it. Okay, so 244 is an even number, so we know we can take it and divide by 2. And yes, you hear my calculator. That is 122. Divide that by 2. Run out of room. I can see it. It's 61. It's not even. It doesn't divide by 3, and it doesn't divide by 7. And we know it doesn't divide by 5. So that's prime. So that's the pair. That's going to go to the outside. The 61 will stay on the inside. And how many pairs can you make of 3? Well, you can make one pair, but you'd be left over with 1. So x would go here, and x, and that would be it. Okay. So 360, divide that by 2, and you get 180. Divide that by 2, and you get 90, and you divide that by 2, you get 45. From there, you have to divide by something else. So I picked 5, and that's 9. And 9 needs to be divided by 3. So there's a pair there. It's in the pair there, but this is not a pair. So whatever pair goes to the outside, that 2 drops down. So 2, that's 2. And that 3, and then the 2 and 5 would be stuck on the inside, so that's 10. So we have 12 square root of 10, and that's the answer. All right, last one, 354. Divide that by 2. Oops, I did that way wrong. And that's 177. Well, let's see if it's divisible by something. It is divisible by 3, and it would be 59. Got some weird numbers going on here. Divide that by 3 again, it doesn't work. Divide that by 7. Oops. And you get 8.4. So this doesn't go any farther. So this right here does not have a pair. There's no pair. So you can't do anything. So it's literally this. All right. Adding and subtracting radicals. So the important thing about this is that you need to simplify the radicals first, okay? And then to be able to add and subtract, they have to have the same index and the same radicand. So what that's saying is the same type of radical. So square roots with square roots, cube roots with cube roots, and then the same thing under the radical. Same value would be the better word. Okay? So, do you notice how this has a square root of 6? They both do. So you're allowed to just put them together. So basically what you're doing is you're taking 3 minus 2, which is 1. So you have 1 square root of 6, and that's your answer. So you just add these coefficients, or subtract these coefficients. Now with this one, it has the same value underneath the square root. So you can just add the 2's together. So 2 and 2 is 4, and it's a square root of 5. Do you notice how in these I didn't change what's underneath the radical? Well, it's like saying you have 2x plus 2x. That's 4x. Okay, the x would be like the square root of 5. So you're just combining the coefficients. That's all you're doing. Now, if you notice on 3 and 4, and actually from here on out, they don't have the same radicand. So the number underneath is called the radicand. And I don't expect you to remember that. So if that's the case, you have to simplify. That's your first step. That wasn't happening to here. There's no simplifying with 5 and 6. And the reason there's no simplifying is 6 factors are 2 and 3, and that's prime. Okay, 7 won't simplify. That's a prime number, but 63 might. So we're going to take 63, divide that by 3, and yeah, you hear my calculator, even though I know it's 21. Divide that by 3, and you get 7, and there's your pair. So this drops down because there's nothing to do. We're going to have 2 times this 3, which is 6, and square root of 7 is left. And we're going to notice that the radicand, the number underneath, the value underneath the radical is the same. So you get 16 square root of 7, and that's your final answer. Okay. I'll do 4 with you. I wasn't going to, but let's look at the 15. 15, you can take 3 and you get 5, but there's no pair. So square root of 15 is actually as simplified as it can be. The 6 square root of 60 is not. So we're going to take 60, divide it by 2, and you get 30. Divide that by 2, and you get 15, which is what we had over here. And then that would be 3 and 5. And nothing pairs up with that 3 and 5, but the 2 pairs up. So the 6 is multiplied to the 2, which is 12, and you have square root of 15 because the 3 and 5's multiply together. Now remember, if there's no number written in front of something, that there's a 1. So you really have 1 minus 12, which is negative 11, and then you just write the square root of 5, or 15, because it's your collecting. All right. I'm going to do 5 and 6 in this video and split it up and do the last 4, so it's not all at once. But what I really like for you to do is see if you can try number 5. So your first step here is you need to simplify. And then you can see if you can combine. Okay? So go ahead and try that one. So pause the video now. All right, now that you've unpaused the video, let's go ahead and do this. So first I want to look at 32, and I'm going to divide that by 2 and you get 16. Some of you might know that 16 is the square root of, or the square root of 16 is 4, so that would come out right away. I'm just going to prove it to you. So if you take 16 divided by 2, that's 8, divide that by 2, it's 4, divide that by 2, it's 2. So pair and pair, hence the 4 for the 16, and the 2's left on the inside. So we have 2 times 2, which is 4, and they're going to take that 4 and multiply it to this 2, which is 8. So 8 squared root of 2. And then you need to simplify the 18. So we can divide that by 2 and we get 9. Divide that by 3 and we get, divide that 9 by 3 and we get 3. So that's the pair. That goes to the outside, but it's going to multiply to this one right here. So it's 9. 3 times 3 is 9. And you're left over with the square root of 2. Since they have the same thing underneath the radicand, we just look at the coefficients, the 8 and the 9. And we do 8 minus 9, which is negative 1 square root of 2, or you can write it as just negative square root of 2. Either one's the same thing. All right, last one for this video. All right, so you have 160. We can divide that by 2, and you get 80. And divide that by 2, and you get 40. Divide that by 2, and you get 20, 10, and 5. And that looks really bad. That's a pair, and that's a pair, but these two don't pair up with anything. So this pair comes out, that gives you 4 when you put these together. So you're going to have negative 4 times 4, which is negative 16, and you need the square root of 10 because of the 2 and 5. And then you have to do the 90. So we can divide 90 by 3, which is 30. Divide that by 3 and you get 10, and then divide that by 2 and you get 5. So the only pair is right there. That pair, the 3 and the negative 2, will multiply together and give you negative 6, and you're left with 2 and 5, which is 10. They have the same value under the radical, so we're just going to take negative 16 minus 6, which is negative 22, and be square root of 10, and that's your final answer. All right, that's the first video. We're going to do a few more of these with maybe more than one radical. So see you in the next video, maybe.